Hello everyone and welcome to How Good Is. Today we're going to talk about the one unit that we've been waiting for such a long time. It's Uwasana. So we're going to talk about Uwasana and her memoria a little bit today. So if we take a look at Uwasana or Uwasana or Snaai or Sai or just whatever you want to call her, we're going to take a quick look at her, and she is a balanced type with 2 Exalis, 2 Blasters. That's fine. We can take a very quick peek at her personal because it's pretty standard, pretty boring in my opinion. It's just got a little bit of attack up on it and stealth aim resistance up. Now if you are going into a quest where the enemy does throw around some stealth aimants, maybe you have a Madokami as well on your team, then you're going to end up with quite a lot of stealth aimant with this memoria. Maybe you also have the Toka memoria on there and you'll actually be like close to 100% stealth aimant resistance, which is great, just passively. Making some of those nodes, like especially if the node is supposed to be difficult exactly because of its stealth aimants, can already counteract all of that, so it's pretty nice to have on those. However, if the enemy doesn't really use any stealth aimants, then just 15% attack up is not a whole lot. Usually I would kind of actually like if personals were as good or even better than like 4-star memoria, because it's like the one thing that like only this character can use, right? So if it was too strong, it's just part of this character's strength. So I think it would have been fine, like in general, to just make personals a bit better than 4 stars usually, as long as they don't get too out of hand. But yeah, this one is just another one that's not quite up there, but like I said, the stealth aim resistance can be quite nice if you are going into specific nodes where that might be a problem. Moving on though, we see the stat line, as expected from a balanced character, is pretty decent across the board. Good, decent HP, decent attack, decent defense. Not super duper much in any of these stats. Like sure, defense is quite high, but it doesn't quite reach tank regions, especially together with the HP. Like big tanks usually have more HP or more defense or even both, so not quite that up there, but still pretty darn tanky and will do a really good job sticking around for a very long time while still dealing a decent amount of damage. So once again, as you would expect from balanced types always have like the best stats across the board. However, also something that we need to note is because she's balanced type, she actually gets a 90% Excel modifier when she attacks, while for example supports or Magia type characters, they get 120%. So she's already going to get a lot less Excel when she attacks, and that's actually going to become important later. But let's move on with the connect. A damage up 40%, it's fine. We see a turns to curse on attack 100%, sure it applies curse, and it gives evade to self. Now the evade to self can be nice, I guess, if you're playing a super duper tanky setup where you try to like make the team survive as long as possible without specifically playing like a heal stall team. Like if you're for example playing a duo Madoka team, a tank doesn't fit on that team because you're already basically invincible with just these two characters, and putting anyone else on that team is just going to make it worse. But if you're playing a team that has maybe like you have Snai and you have Harigi Sayaka or whatever, and these two are just going to try to survive as long as possible, then yeah, getting an evade on either of those two characters is going to be really important. It doesn't really matter too much on which of these two characters you get the evade if like everyone is tanky, because I mean, it's 50-50 either way. Either you put it on the other guy and then you get hit, or you put it on yourself and the other guy gets hit, like 50-50 if it's actually useful or not. However, of course, if you're giving this to someone who was a lot more squishy than Uwasana, which probably will be the case, then it actually kind of sucks that Uwasana herself is the one evading and not the character that you're connecting to. So slightly worse than it should be. Also, I can already tell you that Sprint Enhancement, she doesn't get a provoke passive, so she won't be able to provoke into an evade herself, so that kind of sucks already. So not quite the best. Curse is fine, it's a great status aimant, but you get it only for one turn. And like I said, it's not even applied on the first hit. Like if you have someone with Adder Killer, for example, or someone who wants to deal the bonus damage to weak element, the hit itself that applies curse does not benefit from that, so only the second or third hit would. But you can still use this as a great setup for a Magia. It's actually a really good setup for a Magia. To just give this to someone, they get the 40% damage up for their Magia. They get the curse on the enemy for both if they have Adder Killer for bonus damage on their Magia, and of course weak element. So yeah, this can be used as a setup for someone who wants to Magia. It's great for that. But apart from that, it's only a sort of pretty average connect, I would say. I would like more than just a curse and a damage up, and the evade sort of, I don't even view that too much, because it's too random to some degree. But we'll get to something later that I think might actually salvage this a little bit. Moving on, then we have the Magia, which damages all enemies, gives attack down to all enemies for 3 turns and 30%, which is fine. We stun all enemies, that's great, and we also give Aqua attack up to self 30%. So yeah, that's actually looking like a pretty okay Magia, especially on someone who would be able to use Magia a lot or use Magia fast. So let's say, for example, you're starting a quest, the enemy already deals a lot of damage, you want to reduce that. You would like to have the attack down sooner than later, so I guess you kind of have to use your Memoria until you get there, because she only has 2 Exaltis, which is fine, but since she's balanced type, she doesn't actually generate that much MP when she attacks. So that kind of isn't that great. So you might have to play someone else on that team who maybe gives MP restore, or someone who has Excel draw maybe to help out getting this extra MP on there. But once you get a Magia out, let's say for example, once again you're fighting a big boss, and that boss is sort of hurting your team quite a lot, getting an attack down on that can be pretty nice. You also stun them for an extra turn. A lot of bosses are going to be immune to bind, like almost all bosses that I know are immune to bind, but at least usually they're less immune to stun. Like there's a bunch of bosses that are immune to bind but not immune to stun, so that can sometimes make a difference. I think, for example, EX3 on the current event, the big bear tree, I think that one is immune to bind but not immune to stun. At least I've heard that, I haven't tested it myself, so that would actually be pretty nice for that. And of course the Aqua attribute attack up for self helps dealing even more damage. If you could cycle this, and this is actually kind of important, if you can cycle this, you can of course stack up attribute attack up on yourself, and you can also of course use that attack up for the Magia itself to deal more damage. If we move on to Magia 2, it gets kind of more important because, well, the attack down is basically the same, stun is the same. The attack up on Aqua only goes up by 5%, but it now lasts for 5 turns. I would have loved this to go to all allies. Would have been really great to have this on all allies. Sadly, it's only for self, but at least it lasts for 5 turns. So if you want to like cycle these and get these up on like stacks, like get multiple of these out, that's going to be even better if it lasts for 5 turns. Makes it nicer for you to have 4 extra turns to try and stack it a little bit. So that's nice. And of course, like in general, just 5 extra turns of attribute attack up. Make you hit harder when you just take this. You also have the damage cut down there, which is fine. Damage cut usually isn't happening that often, but whenever it is, it's nice to know if you have someone around who can get past that. And here is someone who can get past that, but once again, sadly, only to self. Would have also loved if this was something that applied to all characters on your team, but it only being on self, it's still alright. Because of the attack up that you give to yourself, it has sort of synergizes with that. You're both giving yourself attack up, and you're hitting harder against targets with damage cut, making you hit, making you completely destroy lower HP targets that try to survive with damage cut. That might appear sometimes in 100 Evils. Like 100 Evils might sometimes have characters like that gives themselves a big damage up. There are a bunch of nodes like that where you get into the node and the enemy team buffs themselves with like a big damage cut for like the first 3 turns. It's like trying to stop burst enemies from bursting them down immediately by giving themselves a damage cut. This can sort of pass by that, which is great. But that only lasts for 3 turns, which isn't that long. And once again, getting to Magia 2 or Doppel is not that hard. It's not that easy because you don't generate that much MP, sadly. So if you can still play on a Magia team, but you need someone to give her MP, maybe someone like Mayu, who is water type. If you want to play a water type team, so you can put them on the water. What's it, the water elemental delta? You can maybe use that on there with Mayu and her. That sounds pretty alright. Something to note is the name for her Magia is Elektronschwert, which means electron sword. I don't know why it's German, but it is. More importantly though, the Magia 2 is called Shutdown RT21, and I'm a software developer myself, so I know what this means. It's a Unix command shutdown. The R parameter stands for force reboot, and the -T21 stands for a time delay of 21 seconds. And I timed it. Her Magia 2 animation is exactly 21 seconds. Good job, the developers are doing some good stuff there. Now that we've seen all of that, she actually seems pretty nice. If you can cycle her Magia, if you can cycle her Magia too, she would do a lot of damage. She would be keeping the attack down and the stun on the enemy, both disrupting enemy and keeping your team safe with the attack down, while also ramping up your own damage. Sounds like a really good and amazing character, and if she was able to cycle Magia in Magia 2, she would be one of the best Magma characters in the game. However, because she's balanced type and doesn't actually generate that much MP per attack, that kind of pushes her down quite a little bit. So that's kind of sadly probably her biggest fault, I would say, is that she doesn't actually generate that much MP. But let's take a look at the Spirit Enhancement as well. She does at least get a little bit of XL MP gain up. it's not nearly enough to counteract her not being like something like a support or Magia type for that Magia playstyle, but at least with those stats that she has, she can still play nicely without trying to get to Magia. She can like hit decently well and she's not gonna die. I guess in some other game you would call her a bruiser, someone who just jumps into battle and deals decent damage and doesn't really die immediately. So something between a full tank and between a full attacker, someone who gets their hands dirty, but also sticks around for a long time. So what else she has? She has a damage cut, as you would expect. That's what she needs. She even gets an extra 15% damage cut for the first 3 turns of any battle. So you can use those three turns to try and load up some connects, load up your Magia with her if you want to try and do that. And you're going to be decently safe with her. She's not going to die that easily. She also curses on attack, which is pretty nice. She has a defense pierce, and if you get the defense pierce together with the ignore damage cut from Magia 2, that kind of makes you push some really nice damage onto enemies that try to rely on their defenses, and that's really nice. Sadly, it's only a 20% chance. Would have liked more than that, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not bad. It's pretty good. However, now we look at the active, and we see attack down 10%, 1 enemy for 5 turns. Now it's only 10%, it's only 1 enemy, but it lasts for a full 5 turns. That's quite a lot, right? Especially if you combine that with the attack down from down here. It's like a 45% attack down for 3 turns, and the other 2 turns is still going to be 10%, so it sounds pretty nice, right? And it gives yourself attack up also for 5 turns, also sounds pretty nice. But even so, like I said, the percentages are rather low, would have liked a bit more on there, but easily lasts for 5 turns. However, then you see something that you don't quite expect. 3-turn cooldown. And lasts for 5 turns. You can stack this. You can actually stack this yourself. You'll have 2 turns where this will be stacked. So 20% attack down, 20% attack up. That's quite nice. You can repeatedly cycle through this and repeatedly put it up there. Some people have already mentioned, imagine if there was a really good skill quick Memoria, like either a passive skill quick Memoria that also had like 25% damage up or something on it, or a really good active Memoria also wants like, let's say like 35% damage up or attack up for 3 turns and like at least 50% skill quick chance on it. That would be something you can put on her, and then she can spam out those attack ups and attack downs on her. Still, just attack ups and attack down on like 1 character, not gonna be super broken or anything, but it would be something cool for her to do. It would give her a really niche use of someone who can accelerate her own DPS while decelerating enemy DPS. That would be pretty nice to have, so at least it's something special that she has that she can do. Overall though, we can say she would be pretty nice if she could cycle through a Magia and Magia 2 a lot faster, but because she is balanced, she's not going to be able to do that too fast. You can maybe play her on a Magia team and sort of trying to feed her MP from other sources, like MP restore from other characters, or trying to trigger more Excel combos for the 20 extra MP to like try and get her out. If you can get her cycling Magia, you're going to stack up the attribute attack up, which is fine. The more important part is it doesn't it does stack additively with regular attack up and has its own cap, so you can have 100% attack up and you can have 100% aqua attribute attack up for a total of 200% attack up, which would be really nice. So this is why this is better than a regular attack up. And the ignored damage cut can be really niche use sometimes against enemies that have that. The attack down and stun is making sure that your team survives. So if you are maybe on a newer account where you don't have some of the really awesome characters or Memoria like Meteorrain to stall, you can use this instead to stall as well. But outside of that Magia, if you're like trying to play her on another team that doesn't focus on Magia, maybe have some sort of like all-round Excel Blast team or something like that, you can still play her on that. Like I said, she is going to be able to deal decent damage. She sticks around for really long. If you want to play like a bruiser team, like put her together with Tard, they're going to do a really good time surviving pretty long and just wear enemies down. So actually I would say this is a character that I could maybe recommend on like fresher accounts, newer accounts that don't have that many great Memoria, that don't have that many great other characters, that just need a character that's just solid. Because I think that Uwasana is one of the most solid characters out there. Maybe not gonna see any player like super high tier play, but she's just solid. She's gonna do you well, basically. And that's my opinion on Uwasana. She's alright. Moving on though, we also have 2 Memoria. We have difficult image training, which is trying to become like a what do you call it, like a picture book author or something, if that's even the correct name for that. So what does it do? It's basically, I made friends, but with a damage up on there, 25% damage up and 25% chance critical hit. Not that important anymore to have critical hit. Like, I made friends used to be really awesome, but now a lot of attacker characters or characters that want to attack with just their discs and do a lot of damage, like blast characters, they usually just get 15% critical hit as part of their spirit enhancement anyway. And since crit doesn't stack, it just goes from 15% crit to 25% chance to crit. It's still better, right? But not by that much as it used to be. Still though, still a decent Memoria just because it gives 25% damage up, and that by itself is already pretty nice. But yeah, 25% chance of critical hit. If you play it on a Maga team, for example, it will still like increase your damage, but not by as much as you would like to. You'd usually like to have access to other stuff like maybe Excalibur or MP gain up or Stella's aim resistance or a whole bunch of other stuff that you like to mix into your lineup to make it better, and crit is usually not something you're looking for specifically to make your lineup better. So crit no longer is that important, unless maybe at some point they change it and make crit actually stack even just multiplicatively. I think they should do that. Since crit isn't that important anymore, they should just let crit stack multiplicatively at least, and yeah, I think that would be a good step to move forward. Maybe they're going to do that someday, I don't know. They could even do that with Evade. Evade really also isn't that big of a deal anymore as it used to be way earlier in the game's life cycle, because now there's so many more sources of anti-evade, there's so many more better and easy ways for even free-to-play people to spam Magia, and of course Magia bypasses Evade. So if Evade was also able to stack multiplicatively now, I don't think that would be that big of a deal. Moving on, we also have another one, Keep Promises in the Heart. It's basically a one-character, lesser version of Meteor Rain, because of course I'm going to compare it to Meteor Rain. It's got attack down and defense down on it, of course. So let's say, for example, once again, you're on a fresher account, you don't have Meteor Rains, not even one, for example, and you're fighting against a big boss like the Bear Tree in EX3 or whatever, and you really need to make your team survive a bit longer. If you don't have that much other good stuff, this is something that you can put on your team. Maybe if you have like 2 or 3 of these, you can spread them around your team and like keep the boss dealing less damage. Let's say, for example, you have 3 of these and you have Uwasana. You just would use one of them each on the 3 turns, and then hopefully after those 3 turns you can use Uwasana, and you got even more attack down on the enemy for more turns. So yeah, you can cycle those around to survive a bit longer. So yeah, overall some good solid stuff. Pretty good, I would say, but not something that you probably will see in like super specialized high tier setups at all, because I think she's missing that that X factor that would make her one of the top tier units. So but yeah, she's still pretty decent. The reason I keep repeating that she's pretty decent is because I have some people seen the fact that she doesn't have that X factor and just called her bad because of it. I mean, like I said, if you are evaluating her specifically for like high-end mirrors, like mirrors ranking or Kimochi, or like trying to beat some stages as fast as possible. I know some people are trying to beat 100 evils in as few turns as possible. In any of these 3 scenarios, yeah, you wouldn't play a character like this at all. You play actually like charge characters. In for example, lowest turns, you play charge characters. You play Final Tard and Sister Momoko and Riko, teams like that. In Kimochi, you play whatever the current Kimochi is about. In ranked mirrors, you play Vampire Kanagi, Valentine's Nagisa. Maybe you play Me For You in tournament, she's really good there. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you do there, Sudachi of course. So there's like the highly specialized characters for all these different types, and Uwasana doesn't fit into any of this, unless it's like somehow a Kimochi specifically tailored around Uwasana, which I don't think is going to happen. But just because she doesn't fit into any of those, I don't think it's right to just call a character bad, and not just Uwasana. Like, I know people call like other characters bad because of that. I don't think that's quite fair, because she's still a really solid character, and if you had like an account that's only like 3 months old or 4 months old, you would love a character like that. You would really love to have a character like this to give you like a really nice boost in all these different game modes if you don't have these special characters. So yeah, that's basically what I want to say at the end of this. Thank you guys for watching this. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.